The first day of 2026 dawned over Israel, not with the gentle quietude that often marks the start of a new year, but with a sense of anticipation and uncertainty. As the sun rose over the ancient city of Jerusalem, its golden light spilled across rooftops and narrow streets, illuminating a nation on edge. The air was thick with the weight of recent history and the promise, or threat, of what the coming year might bring. Instead of festive celebrations, the morning was pierced by the thunder of breaking news, reverberating not just through Israel but across the entire Middle East. Newsrooms buzzed with urgency as journalists scrambled to cover rapidly unfolding events. Television screens and radios blared with urgent alerts, their messages echoing in homes, cafes, and public squares. The world was watching, and the region braced itself for what was to come. In Iran, massive protests erupted overnight, shaking the very foundations of the Islamic Republic. Streets in Tehran and other major cities filled with demonstrators, their voices rising in defiance and desperation. Social media platforms overflowed with images and videos, capturing the raw emotion and intensity of the crowds. The scale and fervor of the protests sent shockwaves throughout the region, raising urgent questions about the future of Iran and its government. In response, Israeli security forces remained on the highest alert. Patrols intensified in Judea and Samaria, with military vehicles stationed at key checkpoints. At the Gaza border, particularly the Rafah crossing, activity surged as authorities prepared for any potential spillover. Inside command centers, officers monitored developments closely, aware that any shift in Iran could have immediate and profound consequences for Israel's security. Meanwhile, high-level meetings between Israeli and American officials were underway. In conference rooms adorned with national flags, diplomats and military advisors pored over intelligence reports, strategizing responses to the crisis in Iran. Video calls connected leaders across continents as the United States and Israel coordinated their approach, mindful of the potential for regional escalation and the delicate balance of alliances. For ordinary Israelis, the new year began with a complex mix of apprehension and hope. Families gathered in living rooms, their conversations tinged with concern as they reflected on the aftermath of recent wars and the uncertainty ahead. Children listened quietly as adults discussed the latest updates, trying to make sense of a world that seemed to shift with every headline. Yet amid the anxiety, there was also a quiet resilience, a determination to endure, to hope, and to look for moments of light in the darkness. Across the country, communities bore the marks of recent conflict. Neighborhoods, once bustling with activity, now moved at a slower pace as people adjusted to new realities. Community centers became hubs of support, where neighbors checked in on one another and volunteers distributed food and supplies to those in need. Despite the challenges, a collective desire for peace and normalcy hung in the air, uniting people in their longing for stability. As January 1st unfolded, daily life pressed on. In Jerusalem's markets, vendors opened their stalls, and families ventured out for morning walks, even as they kept one eye on the news. Children played in parks, their laughter a reminder of hope's persistence. Shopkeepers greeted customers with cautious optimism. In these ordinary moments, Israelis navigated extraordinary times, their hopes and fears intertwined with history and motion, as a new year began, under the shadow of uncertainty and the enduring promise of renewal. The protests sweeping Iran are unprecedented in scale and intensity. From Tehran to small towns, millions demand freedom and an end to the Islamic Republic. Chants of woman life freedom have evolved into open calls for regime change. The government's response is brutal: live ammunition, mass arrests, and internet blackouts. Yet each crackdown only strengthens the movement's resolve. Reports of dissent within security forces hint at cracks in the regime's foundation. The world watches, wondering if these fractures will finally bring down a regime that has shaped the region for decades. Iran stands at a historic crossroads. The current uprising in Iran was ignited by a sudden and dramatic government decision, a sharp cut to fuel subsidies that sent gasoline prices soaring overnight. For many Iranians, this was not just an economic inconvenience, it was a breaking point. Long lines quickly formed at gas stations across Tehran and other major cities as anxious drivers rushed to fill their tanks before the new prices took effect. The shock was palpable, and frustration simmered in the air. News of the price hike spread rapidly, and within hours, videos of angry crowds at fuel stations began circulating online, capturing the raw emotion and disbelief of ordinary citizens. What began as outrage over fuel costs soon evolved into something much larger: Economic frustration quickly merged with long-standing demands for social freedom and justice, reigniting memories of Mahsa Amini and the waves of protests that had swept the country in previous years. Her image became a powerful symbol, appearing on banners and posters as demonstrators called not only for economic relief, but also for an end to repression and the promise of a better future. The streets echoed with chants that blended economic grievances with calls for dignity, equality, and basic human rights. In this digital age, young Iranians, who make up a significant portion of the population, were quick to mobilize. Skilled at bypassing government censorship, they turned to encrypted messaging apps, VPNs, and social media platforms to coordinate protests and share their stories with the world. Despite internet blackouts and surveillance, these tech-savvy activists found creative ways to organize, document, and amplify their struggle, ensuring that their voices could not be easily silenced. The movement that emerged was remarkable for its spontaneity and lack of centralized leadership. It was leaderless and organic, with protests erupting in neighborhoods and cities across the country, often organized in a matter of hours. This made the movement resilient and unpredictable, presenting a significant challenge for the authorities, who struggled to contain the rapidly shifting demonstrations. Protesters came from all walks of life: students, workers, parents, and retirees, united not by allegiance to a single figure or political party, but by a shared desire for a different future. Their diversity became a source of strength as people from different backgrounds and generations stood side by side, demanding change and refusing to be divided by the regime's usual tactics. This decentralized structure is both a strength and a challenge. On one hand, it makes the movement harder to suppress, as there is no single leader to arrest or negotiate with. On the other, it can make coordination and sustained action more difficult. Yet, the networked nature of the protests has allowed them to persist and adapt, spreading from city to city and drawing in new supporters with each passing day. For now, this momentum has given the protests a force that threatens the very foundations of the Islamic Republic. News outlets around the world have taken notice, as images of massive crowds, defiant chants, and dramatic clashes with security forces dominate headlines. The regime faces a level of instability it has not seen in years, as the determination of the protesters shows no sign of fading. Iran's streets now pulse with the energy of a nation demanding change. From the largest cities to the smallest towns, the call for freedom and justice grows louder each day, echoing through the night and inspiring hope for a new chapter in the country's history. As Iran dominates headlines, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict simmers on. On New Year's Day, the IDF launched targeted raids in Judea and Samaria, arresting suspected militants and seizing weapons. Israeli officials argue these operations are vital for security, citing recent attacks. Palestinians see them as aggressive incursions that deepen resentment and disrupt daily life. The cycle of raids and reprisals continues, fueled by decades of mistrust and trauma. Each side clings to its narrative with no easy solutions in sight. The conflict remains unresolved, a constant backdrop to new regional crises. Even as the world's focus shifts, old wounds persist. The Gaza Strip remains a flashpoint of humanitarian crisis and political tension. The partial reopening of the Rafah crossing brought brief relief, allowing limited aid and medical evacuations. Gaza's population remains largely isolated, suffering from a devastated economy and crumbling infrastructure. Daily life is a struggle for survival, yet resilience endures amid hardship. International aid helps, but cannot replace the need for a political solution. The blockade, poverty, and lack of opportunity persist, especially for Gaza's youth. As 2026 begins, Gaza stands as a stark reminder of the human cost of unresolved conflict. The need for lasting peace is more urgent than ever. In Jerusalem and Washington, the crisis in Iran has triggered urgent diplomatic coordination. Israeli and U.S. leaders are developing contingency plans for every scenario, from regime crackdown to collapse. Both nations publicly support the Iranian people's right to protest, but behind closed doors, the stakes are high. The fate of Iran's nuclear program and regional stability hangs in the balance. Officials weigh intervention against the risks of chaos and proliferation. The alliance between Israel and the U.S. is crucial in shaping the region's future. A peaceful, democratic Iran could transform the Middle East. A chaotic collapse could unleash new dangers. The coming weeks will test this partnership as never before. Experts agree. This is the most serious challenge to Iran's regime since 1979. Dr. Mir Litvak notes the movement's breadth and its revolutionary tone, no longer about reform, but regime change. The regime's security forces remain loyal, but reports of dissent are growing. Economic despair and a fearless new generation have created a perfect storm. The nightmare scenario: state collapse and loss of control over nuclear sites. International leaders must prepare for all outcomes, balancing hope for freedom but with the risk of chaos. The next weeks are critical. Iran's fate, and the region's, hangs in the balance. The world watches, hoping for peaceful change, but bracing for instability. Recent wars have reshaped Israeli society, forcing families from border regions to relocate to central cities. This internal migration strains infrastructure and creates new social challenges. The psychological toll is heavy. Israelis are weary and yearn for normalcy. Public opinion strongly favors diplomatic solutions and long-term security. The government faces pressure to support displaced families and restore stability. Grassroots initiatives offer solidarity and aid, reflecting Israel's resilience. As 2026 begins, hope persists that border communities can one day return home. Yet, the nation recognizes it may be forever changed by recent conflicts. As the calendar turns and a new year approaches, we set out to capture the voices of Israelis from every corner of society. From bustling city streets to quiet neighborhoods, we ask people about their hopes, fears, and dreams for 2026. Each conversation revealed a unique perspective, yet together, they painted a vivid portrait of a nation at a crossroads, one that is both deeply rooted in its past and looking forward with cautious optimism. Noah, a young developer in Tel Aviv, shared her vision for the future. She dreams of a life marked by quiet and lasting security, where the threat of violence no longer shadows daily life. For Noah, hope extends beyond Israel's borders. She wishes for freedom and dignity for the people of Iran, believing that peace in the region is possible if ordinary people are empowered to shape their destinies. She finds inspiration in the resilience of her peers, who continue to innovate and create, even in uncertain times. David, a retired teacher in Beersheba, reflects on the lessons of history. He wants nothing more than peace for his grandchildren, a world where they can grow up without fear. Yet, he cautions that real change often comes with chaos and uncertainty. David remembers times of upheaval and hopes that the next generation will find the wisdom to navigate challenges with compassion and courage. Sarah, a mother in Jerusalem, speaks from the heart. Her son is serving in the army, and every day she prays for his safe return. For Sarah, unity is more than a political slogan. It's a necessity. She longs for a country where people stand together, regardless of their differences, and where families can celebrate holidays in peace without the shadow of conflict. These voices, diverse yet united, reflect the spirit of Israel, a nation that is resilient, realistic, and deeply human. Despite the hardships, Israelis continue to find reasons to smile, to support one another, and to believe in a better tomorrow. The challenges ahead are immense. The crisis in Iran looms large, the Palestinian conflict remains unresolved, and the scars of past wars are still fresh. Every day brings new headlines and new uncertainties, testing the resolve of a people who have endured so much. Yet in the face of adversity, Israelis hold on to hope. Their desire for peace and security fuels their determination to keep moving forward. Whether through small acts of kindness or bold initiatives for change, they continue to build bridges and imagine a future where all can thrive. The journey ahead will not be easy. There will be setbacks and moments of doubt, but the determination of the Israeli people endures, rooted in a shared belief that a brighter future is possible if they stand together. As 2026 unfolds, Israel faces uncertainty with courage and hope. The road is long, but the spirit of its people remains unbroken, lighting the way toward a new chapter in the nation's story.